it's okay. Nobody going to join us in the first second, so it's completely okay. But I think that we're live now, and I'm going to get into our Amazon Nonstop group and to check that everything is working well. Amazon Nonstop group. Let's see what's going on there. Okay, and I'm in.
Yes, you are.
Maybe we're not live. Yeah, we can see. I can see ourselves, and I can see that a few guests and viewers already joined us. And good evening, Gilad. Good evening, Brian. In a few minutes, I'm gonna introduce you. But before we start, I want to wait a few seconds or a few minutes until all the people who are a bit late will join us. And meanwhile, I want to make more people happy and let them enjoy our great webinar tonight. And I want to share our webinar in other group and in my personal profile. So I'll take a minute. And meanwhile, you viewers, you can write us if you can see and hear very well, because I didn't see any messages. I can see any messages. Okay, so let me finish the sharing and I'll get back to you guys.
Great.
Okay.
So anyway, we were in Greece.
So you went to Greece, you said? Then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the next conversation.
Greece is beautiful, man. Food.
You've been there?
Water. Yeah, I was there 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing. And now all the Israelis went to Greece. Now it's 2 seconds after it became red. Nobody can go there anymore. And
right.
Every time they're releasing one country that you can go to. So now everybody's talking about Abu Dhabi and Seychelles.
Really?
These are the options for us. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I finished. Okay, I can see that we have many viewers already, and I see that Hanit wrote hi to everybody, and Talia told us that she can hear and see us, and Tanya, and many other people that telling us that looking good and sounds good. Good evening, guys. I want to say good evening to all our Amazon Nonstop viewers tonight. We have two special guests. One of them is familiar to you from our group. Good evening to Gilad.
How are you, Gilad? Hi, Gilad.
And our other guest is pretty familiar character in global Amazon industry. And he is the person who is responsible for the success of thousands of brands in Amazon, and the owner of a huge PPC community, and a great expert and person. Good evening, Brian Johnson from Texas, correct?
Yes, yeah, exactly, from Texas in the United States. Yes, so yes, thank you for having me, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that.
Thank you for cleaning your schedule for us. We appreciate it as well. And there is a reason why both of you guys in our screen now. Gilad said that he would do anything to bring you, Brian, to one of our webinars, and here finally it came true. I
didn't say anything.
Huh? You
didn't say anything.
Easy.
Okay, so thank you to Gilad for the organization, and thank you to Brian for cleaning his schedule and being with us tonight. And Gilad, everybody know who is me, who is Gilad. Can you tell little bit about yourself and about the subject that we're gonna talk tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm Brian Johnson. So I've been in the e-commerce space for about 14, 15 years now. And then in the Amazon space for, I think this is my 6th year in the Amazon space. And most of that, while I did start out and I do still sell products on Amazon, my collection of products is a bit eclectic. It's usually from products that the other people have liquidated when they're trying to get out of Amazon, which does happen. And so most of the time, though, I've been focused entirely on the advertising focus of Amazon. And so that is, primarily like, how do you get your products in front of shoppers? How do you get their attention? How do you, that's the biggest piece of advertising. And of course, second part of that, most people know me for the Amazon advertising I guess, talks and teaching that I've done over the years, but not a lot of people know that I'm also very enthusiastic about product positioning and conversion rate optimization, which goes hand in hand with success on Amazon, and it goes very well with the Amazon advertising.
Amazing. So you have a very interesting presentation about that topic. And everybody knows that in Amazon, advertising is the key for success, or for earning some profits and not losing money. So I think that we are ready to start and seeing your presentation. Guys, you ready? Dear viewers, if you have any questions during the webinar, you can ask, and I will forward the questions to Bryan or to Gilad. And let's start, guys. I'm adding this presentation to the main screen, and everybody can see it now.
Okay, good. So I want to make sure that everybody can see the screen. I'm optional, but you got to be able to hear me. So hopefully that we have both of those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So, all right. So as you can see, what I'm here today to teach, based off the discussions that I had, obviously, is I wanted to make sure that I brought to you as far as like using specific advertising types to acquire market share on Amazon. Now, another way that I like to put that is how to steal sales and market share from your competition. So hopefully it's a topic you're looking forward to. I'm primarily going to focus in on the ad types that 85% of your competition are completely ignoring still to this day, even though they've been out now for a year and a half. I'm going to revisit these, and if you're not currently using things like product targeting ads, or if you're not brand registered, now's the time in order to kind of step up and really get your product and your brand in front of your target audience and really start gaining the sales, gaining the market share from your competition, because hopefully you're bringing into Amazon a product that is better than what your competitors are offering. Or second on that is that even if it's exactly the same, you're able to demonstrate the value of your product compared to your competitors, right? That's obviously, it's a whole different topic when it comes to things like product positioning, differentiation. But what I'm going to talk about specifically is how to determine basically how to set up product targeting ads, how to determine what those targets are, and kind of the benefit that goes into that. So I'm going to go through some of these, is going to be a little bit detailed. So hopefully this will be recorded, of course. The slide deck will be shared. And of course, if you're welcome to take screenshots as I go. Cool. Now, I intentionally am not going to look at the chat. So if there's any questions or comments, hopefully,
I'll do it.
We're going to forward it to you.
Just say, hey, stop, Brian. Let's breathe for a second and back up again.
Exactly.
All right. So I'm going to go fast on this. So, all right. So let me go kind of jump in here. Let me take one step back here and talk really quick as far as like introduce myself, give a little bit more detail as far as who I am. If you've never heard of me before, my name is Bryan Johnson. It's kind of a common name in the world, but I have been busy the last 6 years in the Amazon advertising space, including introducing, as was mentioned earlier, the Amazon PPC troubleshooting group on Facebook. We've got over 20,000 sellers that are on that in that group, so it's pretty active in discussion. Really quickly on some of these other ones, I founded and created the original Amazon advertising management software, which is called PPC Scope, which we just are in the process of upgrading this very week. So those of you who are already using that, then that's being upgraded. Sponsored Products Academy 1, 2, and 3 that I've done over the past 3 years. Of course, that's more the big 6-week professional Amazon advertising training course. And then, of course, the flagship of my companies is Canopy Management, which is my done-for-you full-service ad agency. And we're going fast on that one. So I've got a phenomenal team. Can't thank them enough for just being who they are and putting together what we have. I've done coaching. I've done speaking. I've done consulting. None of that matters, because right now what I want to do is jump in and specifically talk about how you can leverage this. If you're not currently running product targeting ads, or maybe you're not running product targeting ads in the way that I'm going to teach, then hopefully this has a lot of value that you can take away and you can take action right after the webinar. Not during, but right after, right? All right, so first of all, if we're going to actually like steal sales and acquire market share from the competition, we kind of need a coordinated plan. Let me kind of back up here 1 second and just talk for a second as far as like what a product targeting ad is. As many of you are aware, Amazon has 4 major ad types. They have DSP, which is a whole different platform. My agency manages it, but if you're not of the scale in your business just yet, then that's something you can look forward to. That's more for off Amazon advertising. On Amazon, there's 3 primary ad types: sponsored product ads, sponsored brand ads, and sponsored display ads. Each one of those has the ability to run product targeting ads. So on the screen that hopefully is showing right now, as far as the product ad examples, there are, in the green boxes, those are different locations where your ads can run, specifically the product targeting ads can run. And some of these are filled in, you know, there's a little bit of overlap in a couple of these. Like for instance, the one that's underneath the bullet points in the center, that one can be occupied by DSP, it can be occupied by a sponsored product targeting ad. It can also be occupied by a sponsored display product targeting ad. Other examples, there's the one up on top. That one they just opened up just recently to sponsor display product targeting ads if you have custom creative implemented. And on the right-hand side below the add to cart in that right-hand column, that was specifically for sponsored display product targeting ads. There's other ad types. You can kind of see those other boxes, the other green boxes in different locations, not only in the search results, but also in other product detail pages, as well as some of the category specific pages, right? All right, so here's the plan. So first of all, we're going to talk about stealing sales from the competition. The first thing we're going to do is identify product targets. Okay, so that's going to be the first thing I'm going to teach you, and that's going to be to find the competitors that offer the best opportunity to gain new customers. Second thing on this is going to be to set up your product targeting that is actually going to allow you to increase your sales, increase your market share. All of these are designed. You can first of all get in front and compete head to head with your competition and get your ads running on their product detail pages, which allows you to say, hey, I've got a better product. Come over to my side, come over to my product detail page, come over to my brand, and therefore offer that shopper a better product before they make a final decision. And then, of course, third is expanding beyond just your direct competition so that you're reaching out and expanding your audience. In other words, your audience may be your target audience. They may fit a certain profile that would normally buy your product, but maybe right now they're not actually looking for your product. So I'm going to teach you how to get in front of that audience even when they're not even looking for your product yet. That's going to help you dominate even a greater amount of your product niche by simply capturing more of the market share by getting your products in front of your, basically more of your existing audience. Okay. Is that making sense so far for everybody?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
That's to me.
Okay, first one, number one. Okay. We're going to identify the product targets. So we need to figure out as far as like who we're targeting right now. This is primarily going to be as far as identifying initially what are the competitor products that we're going to, in other words, the competitor ASINs that we're going to target in our product targeting ads. I'll show you how to set up the product targeting ads a little bit later in part 2. In part 1, though, what we're going to do is going to show you how to divide and conquer by breaking these competitors out into 2 separate groups, right? I actually do teach a third one, which is more advanced, but I'm going to keep it simple here for time. What we're going to first of all focus on is the weak competitors, those kind of the low-hanging fruit, or those that are, they don't have a very good product. Maybe they've got bad pricing. Maybe they've got bad reviews. Maybe they didn't take a quality photo for their main image. All of those things could make it easier for, maybe the other thing too is maybe they don't have prime shipping. Maybe they're shipping directly from their own warehouse and they don't qualify necessarily for prime shipping. These are all things that you can take advantage of. That's kind of the easy set of competitors, right? But the second one I'm going to go into is more the moderate ones. Those are pretty much on the same level of competition as yourself. Now, like I said, I also teach more of the stronger competitors, those that maybe have a better offer, maybe those that are $10 less expensive than yours. There are ways in order to attack those, but we don't really have the time to address these because I think most of you haven't probably put in enough of the product targeting ads in the way that I'm going to teach it. This is going to be a great way to start testing how well those product targeting ads do. Now, the product targeting ads that we're going to set up here, I'm going to be kind of interchanging and talking about just product targeting ads in general across sponsored product, sponsored brand, and sponsored display ads. Now, some of you who do not have brand registry are only going to have access to the sponsored product targeting ads. So I highly recommend that you do get brand registered. That's a lot faster than it ever used to be now in order to get brand registered, to get trademark started and get brand registered. But that's, obviously use what you can that you've got available to you, which at a minimum is going to be the sponsored product targeting ads. The second thing on this is I would recommend that when we go in and we look at what are those targets, we're not simply just we're not being lazy. Okay. You're not American, right? You don't be lazy. Go out there and actually identify who your targets are, who your competition is. Don't simply just let Amazon make suggestions to you and where you just say like, oh, I'm just going to select everything that Amazon tells me to target. Don't do that. Actually go out and intentionally look for what are the target competitor ASINs that you're going to go after. Okay. Now I'm going to find out that you got a ton of Americans in your group, right? I'll get some flack for that. I understand.
Actually, we have a few guests from abroad, from Canada, from Romania tonight. It's the first time in our group, so I believe that the reason it's not me or Gilad.
Good. Okay, so let's start out with the weak competitors. These are pretty much the easy ones. So to start out, what I'm going to recommend is that you locate 20 to 30 directly competing. In other words, products that are just like yours. You're going head to head with them. So directly competing product ASINs, the product identifier number, right? Over which you can show a higher perceived value. So that's going to include, they may have a lower average product review rating. For example, like I have in the slide here, you've got a 4.5 star, they've got a 4 star, right? They have maybe a fewer total review count, right? You've got 50 reviews, they've got 20 reviews, that kind of thing. Even if, so that's kind of an advantage that you basically have is that you've got more social proof in the reviews. A higher, and I'm also going to add in here a significantly lower. So a higher price is kind of an easy one. For instance, maybe their product is $5 more expensive than yours that you offer. You offer basically a similar product, but maybe at a less expensive price. I don't recommend you reduce price. I always recommend increasing price and then demonstrate the quality and the value to your shoppers. Don't simply just play this game of I can lower my price in order to make sales. That's also why I would have you recommend, it's not on the slide, but I would have you I'd recommend that you also target those products that are similar to yours that have a significantly lower price. Now, if higher price might be something that's $5 more, right? Then maybe something that is lower, significantly lower, maybe is $10 lower, $20 lower, depending on your price point. You get to a point where the price gets so low that the assumption by the shopper is that is a cheap, low quality product because it's priced so low. They don't know that maybe the product just launched. They don't know that everybody's in a race to the bottom as far as price. They're going to look at what is the average selling price that most of these products seem to be selling for. And the ones that are significantly lower, they're going to say, like, that's probably going to break on me. That's going to be probably cheap. So those are ones to run those ads also. So I would include those ASINs that have a significantly lower price as well. Number 4 is as far as where those competitors rank for your target keywords in the top 10 pages. That's primarily just to make sure that you're getting enough traffic going through those competitors that you then are stealing back through product targeting ads in order so that you can actually get a good test, right? At some point, you're going to look back and you're going to set this up and say, wow, that was really easy. What else can I do? Well, that's when you start going beyond the initial 20, 30. You start going 200, 300 kind of targets. You start just scaling that up. And I'm going to give you the basics that I want you to set up for now. Okay. For moderate competitors, very similar strategy. This is simply just where you're identifying separately, right? I would probably run these as maybe either a separate ad group or maybe even a separate campaign so that you can control the budget and some of the other targeting features a little bit better. And this is basically where you're setting up, as an example, you set up a sponsored product targeting ad campaign, and you've got one for, weak competitors, you've got one for moderate competitors, or, direct, even competitors. Again, 20 to 30 of those, identify a list of 20 to 30 ASINs from those competitors. This time, a lot of the things are going to be similar. Maybe you got, similar average review rating, similar review count, similar price point, right? You're kind of saying like this is an equivalent alternative or a substitute for the product that shopper happens to be on. The reason we want to go after those who are directly competing with us is for a couple of reasons. One is you've got competitors, especially during this time of the year, especially during this year, who are going to run out of stock, right? They're going to run out of budget. They're not advertising. Maybe they're going to run out of stock. They're still getting traffic. Amazon is still sending shoppers to their listing, but they may have something that's wrong. They may have, they may not have the buy box. They may not, their stock may be not available for another week, because they're bringing in new stock. Anything that's going to trip up or slow down the shopper from making that purchase, they're going to immediately start looking at alternatives. And you want your product targeting ads first and foremost up there so that they can readily see it and say, oh, well, here's a product that's available, right? So that's one of the reasons, just one of the reasons why we go after some of the, some of the directly competing competitors.
Okay, can we forward the question to you, Brian?
Yeah, if you want to read them up to me.
Yeah, I have one directly related question, and the other is not very much related, but I will ask the both. The first question is Ilana Brisker. She asked, what about the top selling products in the same category? Will and how would you target them?
Well, so top selling products generally are going to be more of the higher competition, which I'm not covering today, but those generally you have to demonstrate a better value. Even if you've got the exact same product, you have to come in your title, in your main image, in your video, in your first bullet point, all of those things. You need to be able to demonstrate why your product is a better value or has some special feature or function or benefit to the shopper. So that has to do with more of product positioning. You're not going to do that necessarily. I mean, it's going to show through in your advertising as far as the main image and the title, but that's a topic, and I can certainly come back and teach that other topic as well. But that is primarily going to be like, you've got to make sure that like for instance, the short version of this is the first 80 characters of your title needs to include, you don't have to have just an 80 character title. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying on mobile devices, it starts cutting off at about character number 80. So you want to make sure you've got some kind of compelling benefit in 1 or 2 words in the front half of your title so that shoppers can see that and start connecting with, oh, this is the benefit I'm going to get out of your product. Talk to the audience. Do not talk to the search engine. Do not talk to the algorithm. You're not selling to the algorithm. You're selling to a customer, right? To a shopper. So you being able to come in and say, demonstrate the value when that top shopper or that top selling product, I should say, may not have taken any time to express the quality of the time that they put into manufacturing their product, but you can in order to differentiate your product from those. So while direct product advertising under normal circumstances, you might get some traffic, but you may not be getting the conversions from that. So it may make it more expensive if you include in your list those that are the top sellers, unless you've got one of these benefits that I was talking about, one of those advantages, then you probably will keep those out of your list or bid lower on those. But once you do optimize your main image, optimize your title, and really talk to the benefit to the shopper, then you'll start having a compelling advantage that will carry over into the product targeting ads, even on some of those top seller products.
Okay, thank you for that question. I will ask you the other question of Gil Epstein. Gil says that he knows that Amazon have a few categories that are not allowed to use sponsored, like HSA and storefront campaigns. How can I still use the sponsor ads if I'm in one of that categories?
Well, if your product is not allowed to advertise, then you're not going to be able to advertise. You know,
Okay.
There's
So,
that. Some of those are simply like I'm not talking about headline ads. I'm not talking about store ads. I am talking specifically today about product targeting ads, which is different. But there are plenty of products that are not allowed to advertise because of the content in the listing, because there are certain words that are in the listing or in the title that are banned from advertising. Things like you can't put in things like pandemic or COVID or quarantine or weight loss or, something like that. There's not like a published list of these are the banned words, but you'll know pretty quickly, like, oh, my ad is ineligible. Why is it ineligible? Well, it's probably because of some word you have in your content that is not prohibited, or that is not allowed, I should say.
I see. And one last fresh question of Rotem Zioni. Will you target competitors from the second or third page?
Definitely. Yeah. Like I said before, it's like I would do 10 pages. I would go 10 pages just to start out with. And then I would go even farther than that, once I start to scale it up. Mm-hmm. I'm fine targeting absolutely everybody who's in the catalog. It's just a case of what are you going to set up now versus what are you going to scale up and set up later on. Okay,
thanks. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want you to try to go after everybody and spend the next week trying to set this up and then it never gets implemented. Just go after the first, 20, and then just get a list in there and start testing it to see how does your product do on those kind of ads, on those product targeting ads against your competitors. That's the first step.
Okay.
All right. Some great sources. Now, I have a list of probably 15 of these sources as far as where to find products. I'm going to cover the most common 3 that are easy to access and everybody sees. The organic search results, of course, for converting search terms. I don't know as far as like what general keyword research tool that you're teaching to use. There are different tools out there that allows you to scrape ASINs from just search results. Favorite ones I like to go to are things like the organic search results for your top converting search terms if you have any ad history already. Looking at those competitors and just scanning down and saying, okay, here are the products that I have an advantage on. Okay. You can certainly use keyword research tools. I always caution people on using keyword research tools. Don't let the tool do the entire job for you. You've got to make some decisions based on your own intuition and your own knowledge of your target audience. Don't simply just say, oh, well, here's my list of keywords, for instance, right? In a product targeting ad, you're identifying actual ASINs, actual products, and some of the reverse ASIN keyword tools will allow you to identify, okay, here are the other products who are selling, who are ranked well or are positioned well for some of the keywords that you're trying to go after yourself. Third on that, of course, is things like what are some of the other ads that you see up on your own product detail page, or some of those, like one of the example, kind of bringing up those top sellers that was brought up earlier. You can go in and see, okay, who is trying to advertise against the top sellers? There's probably 50 to 100, if not more, ads running on the top seller product detail page. Figure out who those people are. You can probably, if somebody is curious enough to click through on their ad, but then they're not satisfied with what they see, now all of a sudden you've got a product targeting ad on that secondary product that's trying to get traffic from the top seller. And now all of a sudden you've got a better product than them, even though they just paid for the traffic from the top seller. So that's kind of a trick of getting around having to pay for the traffic of a top seller. Simply just go after those who are already paying for that top seller. There's a number of other sources that you can get that you can scale this up, especially if you've got a smartphone and you can pull up the Amazon shopping app. There's things as far as like shoppers who view this product view these other products. Shoppers who purchase this product or who view this product ultimately purchase some other product. Products related to products frequently purchased with this product, like accessories, products that are ranked up in, if you go into your subcategory without any kind of a search term, if you go into basically the best sellers within your subcategory for your product, you'll see where Amazon breaks it up and says, okay, most wished for, bestseller, most highly rated by some expert authority somewhere. There's a lot of different ways to kind of see where is Amazon driving shoppers to, driving traffic that you can then run ads on in order and get some of that traffic back, based off of the same analysis of the weak or the moderate competitors. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and set up some product targeting ads. Okay. Let me kind of talk about, just for kind of step back here, why are we using the product targeting ads? Of course, it does increase brand awareness, right? Product sponsored display, product targeting ads, for instance, the ones down in the middle and the right-hand side, those actually also show things like some of the badges, like coupon badges or, lightning deal kind of badges. Those actually will show up on those ads also. And anything that draws the eye, that catches the attention, that makes your ad or your listing stand out to the shopper, is going to give you an advantage. It's going to give you more engagement with the audience. You're going to get their visit, their click and their visit, and give you their consideration. And then obviously it's your product detail page that has to do a great job in the first 5 seconds in convincing them that the benefit that your product offers them is better than anybody else. That is a tough thing to do, but it is something that I would highly recommend that you focus on and really think about for a period of time. You're going to be able to boost your visibility for any kind of new product launches that you have. That's going to add into all the rest of your startup campaigns, your launch campaigns that are pretty typical. Certainly, it's going to drive traffic to your own product detail pages. The nice thing about it is if you have multiple products, not child variations, but actual multiple standalone products, either parent products or other products that have their own listing. They're not just child variations of one product. You'll be able to run ads on those from your own brand. You're not going to be able to run an ad for the same product that you're running, that you have a product detail page for. But if you do have other standalone products that are not child variations, you can cross-market your other products on your own page. This is what we call a defense method, right? So defense method is more about like occupying some of the advertising real estate where these product targeting ads would show up in order to block competitors from running their ads and potentially distracting or stealing your customer, right? So setting those up is a great way in order to, from a cross-marketing defense ad versus what we're talking about stealing market share is more of an offense ad. Let's see here. Only 15%. This is kind of what I was kind of opening up with. The 85%, 15%. So again and again, within Canopy Management, we always interview and qualify brands that we want to work with, and we go through like a full analysis of their advertising and their account to see what the strengths and weaknesses are. And we'll go back and we'll tell that brand, it's like, look, you're strong here, you're weak here. We can help in these areas, or we can't help. You need to go fix some other things first. So it can go either way on that one. But again and again and again, like 90% of the time, I see where most brands are still only using about 15%, maybe 20% of the ads that are available that Amazon offers today. And a lot of that is a big weakness when it comes to these product targeting ads. They may not know that they rolled out because Amazon didn't communicate it as well as they could have. Maybe they just don't have the in-house knowledge in order to implement them. Maybe they just don't have the time to implement them. But what I'll show you here is that it's pretty simple. You already figured out a way. It's like, okay, how do I identify 20 to 30? Yeah, I can do that. I can search through, a couple of pages of my top search term and see products that are weaker than mine. Great. I have my list of ASINs. Took you 10 minutes, right? Now, it's pretty easy, as you'll see, is to set up a product targeting campaign. It's a lot simpler than you probably think, and therefore you shouldn't be holding back from implementing those today, okay? So there's two different kinds of kind of product targeting. There's product targeting, there's category targeting. Now, with product targeting is the primary focus of what we're talking about today that I'm going to show you how to set up. I will make a side note for you though. I would also recommend to set up a category targeting ad where Amazon is selecting which products to show the ad to. It doesn't get very much traffic. They're usually not that successful, but if you do this one change here that I'll tell you, you can actually see some success with category targeting ads. By no means do category targeting ads replace your own research and identifying a list of product ASINs where you're doing your own product targeting ads, okay? So the exception on the category targeting ad is you'll see that there's filters for categories that Amazon allows you to target with. There are product targeting ads, but they're basically category focused as opposed to product focused. And what you can do is you can say, okay, I want to target this particular category that is maybe my own, right? Going direct competition. This is the category that I meant, subcategory. But you want to implement the filters. Now, the traditional filters on that might be I want to only run ads to those products that have a higher price point than mine, that have a lower review rating than mine. Very similar to obviously what I was talking about as far as those filters that you want to hit for weak competitors and moderate competitors. However, one of the things that I would recommend you actually do with category targeting ads that you can't do with standard product targeting ads is you can target with your product, assuming that your product is Prime shipping eligible, then you can run a category targeting ad, run it as its own campaign, put in your products, run a product target or a category targeting ad to your own category or to very closely related categories that you're going after, and filter so that it only shows on products that are non-Prime. In other words, shoppers want instant gratification. They want to be able to get, I want it tomorrow. I want it in 2 days. I want it yesterday. That's the difference as far as Prime and non-Prime shipping. If your product qualifies for Prime shipping, do a category targeting ad that only focuses on products that are non-Prime, okay? That's the only time that I'm using category targeting ads, okay?
Brian, I have a question here. I'll stop you if you're going over it later on. Then please continue. But about the product targeting, the question was about the different type of bids that you will be using. I mean, are you going to use specific bids like dynamic bids, down only, up and down, fixed bids? What's your opinion on that?
Yep. So I'll actually talk about that here on an upcoming slide. The short version of that is yes, no, and yes. So just kidding. So when it comes to things as far as like campaign bidding strategy and placements, those are things that are available within sponsored product ads only. Generally, what I'll do is if it is a brand new campaign in its first 2 weeks, I'll use fixed bid. And I'll usually set that fixed bid to maybe the break-even bid of my product. If you haven't figured that out, if you don't know your net margins of your product, then back it up and calculate those. Usually I'll just start with kind of an arbitrary number, but I also, if I have knowledge of what my conversion rate is for my product, and I can calculate based off conversion rate and price what my break-even bid would be for my products, then I'll probably set the starting bid, fixed bid, at that break-even or maybe a little bit higher. As far as the bidding strategy, the campaign bidding strategy, that's the fixed bid, right? And then later on, I would switch to either dynamic down only or dynamic up and down. Dynamic up and down testing is something that might be a little bit more intermediate to advanced. So if that kind of scares you off in the beginning, then just down only is the more conservative approach after the first couple of weeks. The specific reason why I start out with fixed bidding strategy on any brand new manual campaign is because Amazon by default is not going to trust your new campaign. Therefore, they're going to automatically reduce your starting bid regardless of whether or not you have a 900% placement on it. It's going to ignore that completely. And it's going to drop the bid down so far on a campaign it doesn't trust that you're no longer, you don't even make it to the starting line. Your ad doesn't even show. You get very few, if not zero impressions on that new manual campaign. That's Amazon saying, I don't trust you, or your campaign is not relevant to your product. And so I use fixed bid in order to get around that, to force Amazon to show my ad, even though it doesn't trust me. And I only need to do that for the first couple of weeks, usually during the new campaign launch. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Certainly. As far as the market share targeting, kind of what I mentioned before, I mixed up the slide a little bit different here, but again, there are multiple opportunities. You have ads that'll show up on that top stripe above the listing. That is something that you can actually take a screenshot of this, because I actually have the little labels as far as which ad types will actually occupy this position. So the one at the very top is a sponsored display ad, product targeting ad, but you have to have the custom image and the custom title turned on for that one. Otherwise, it's not going to qualify to show up there. Below the bullet points, you can usually fill that one with either sponsored product or category targeting ad, or sponsored display product or category targeting ads. That can also be occupied by DSP, but usually second, it basically is second to some of the other ads that you can run here just through. If you got access, if you got brand registry and you have sponsored product ads, sponsored brand ads, and sponsored display ads, I recommend that you set up product targeting ads on all three of those ad types. The bottom left is going to be a sponsored brand, product, or category ad. Actually, I guess kind of the middle left there in the red box. Below that, where you have basically the ribbons, and you usually have two ribbons of just pages and pages and pages of sponsored ads. Those are generally just going to be the sponsored product ads, either the automatic campaigns or a manual keyword campaign. That can also show up as far as a product targeting ad, but usually the automatic campaign, that's kind of a dump station for all the product, for all the ad types, is to show in that ribbon. That's usually why there's, 10 pages or 100 pages of the ribbon of sponsored products, sponsored ads. On the right-hand side, that's the one I was saying underneath the right column, underneath the add to cart, that you can target directly with a sponsored display product targeting ad. And again, to kind of recap on that, you can do either defense or offense. Defense is where you are running ads from your other products to your one of your own product detail pages. So you're kind of cross-marketing your separate products. And then offensive ads is where you're running these kind of product targeting ads either on your direct competitors or on products that your audience is looking for, which is part 3, right? Okay, here's another screenshot opportunity for you here. This is essentially where you can create a new manual campaign. Now, how you name it is really your choice. Just so long as you understand what it does and what the strategy is really what's important. I like to set up, I don't set up a separate campaign for every single product, but I will group those products together. Like if I have, a blue widget and a red widget and a pink widget, and they're basically all the same product, just in 3 different colors. Those are all going into the same campaign. Okay. In the case where you're creating a product targeting ad for sponsored product, sponsored brand, sponsored display, obviously that's going to be 3 separate campaigns: product, brand, display. Daily budget doesn't matter. Start low and then build up on if something is successful and you've got very low ACOS and it's running profitably, then scale up your budget. So start low, $10, $20. Don't go so low that you're down below $10, but I would say $20 is a good arbitrary number to start with from a budget standpoint. Product targeting ads, of course, are a manual targeting option. Again, the ad group name You can separate your products into different product groups, but for product targeting, it's okay to bundle those together in the same product, in the same ad groups also. So it's not that big of a deal. As far as the products you're advertising, you can add all of your own basically all your own products, right? I prefer if you have, if you have significantly different product lines, I would try to keep the ads so that you're basically you're trying to target an audience and you want to try to keep it relevant so that the products that you're running are, basically are themed, are grouped together based on the kind of, like for instance, if you've got like the example, like if you sell office chairs and you sell dartboards, you're not really going to be cross-marketing your dartboards over to your, to your audience that is looking for office chairs, for instance. It's kind of should be fairly common sense on that one. I will add in here that's not on the slide is if you've got multiple products, the ones that I would recommend are if you've got, let's say you've got 10, pick the 3 products that have the highest conversion rate. Those are much more likely to be successful when they're being advertised across other products or in other locations, because obviously there's a reason why they have a higher conversion rate, because people tend to gravitate to those products and they like that product better. Not, like many of you may not have that option. You only have 1 or 2 products, just put them in there. If you have any products that are beaten up and they have bad reviews or, something like that, don't include those, of course, in your advertising. Let's see here. Kind of highlight, or basically kind of muted, I guess, in gray is kind of what I was talking about before based on the question. So thank you for the question. And that was for sponsored product targeting campaigns. You can also set up dynamic, you can set up bidding. Dynamic down only, I would say, is kind of the easy default if you don't want to change it, if you don't want to go back and change it. I prefer to run for the first 2 weeks a fixed bid. I do not use placement initially, right? Certainly not initially. The most placement that I typically would ever go up to is maybe 30 to 50%. Never am I doing hundreds of percent. That's just, it's a very rare case where that actually can work, regardless of the fact that Amazon allows you to run. And I can tell you, so I can explain also, if we have time for Q&A and that kind of stuff, I can explain as far as how the ad auction actually eliminates your product ad, based off of if you have a high placement percentage. But that's kind of a different side question there. The default bid, you can go with, if Amazon offers a suggested bid, you can certainly go with that. This is kind of like, this is a matter of, you're not going to really get it wrong, in that you have to test to see how well your product targeting ads run. Any new ad type, you're going to basically test to see, okay, it's not converting well, or, after a couple of weeks, it's just not profitable. I need to reduce my bid, or I need to increase my bid if I'm not getting enough traffic, or I've got a low A cost. So you're going to always adjust later on. The 3 that I go with is I will either go with the suggested bid. I would go for just a fixed number, like just a random number, like $2. Or more precisely, I would probably, if I know my conversion rate and the profitability of my product, and I've calculated what my break-even bid is for my product, then I might know that, okay, my A cost breaks even when I always bid $1.25. Therefore, that's my break-even bid. I might start it at break-even, or I might even go a little bit more aggressive on a new campaign. So don't overthink that one. Just start out with some kind of a bid and just adjust it from there over the next, on a weekly basis, start adjusting from there. And usually it's going to be with product targeting, you're basically going to be adjusting, you can adjust each individual ones, but typically you're going to be turning on and off, basically you're going to be pausing some product targets that simply meet the same optimization requirements. In other words, for those of you who are using some kind of a process as far as to look at the numbers for keywords, for product targeting ads, for categories, and there's been X number of clicks, and I know that if I haven't gotten a sale after 5, 10, 20 clicks, whatever the case, however you want to, calculate it, then I know that I need to either reduce a bid or negative match or pause. The same kind of concept you use with keywords and search terms, you can apply to, when it comes to optimization, you can apply to product targeting ads as well. I do have here, as far as like the placement with product pages, as 25%, which is kind of counter to what I was saying. Like I don't generally start out, but so usually what I'll do is I'll do no adjustment in the first couple of weeks, and then I might test to see, can I get more visibility if I increase it up to 20, 30, 50% maybe. But I usually keep it
in the product page. We're not talking about the top of page.
Well, you could do top of page also, because your product targeting ad will also show top of page. So, which is
people say, the opinion that the conversion in the top of page is better.
Well, that's based on two things. One is the product niche is going to behave differently as far as top of page. Two is competition. We see a lot of this, where a lot of the statements that were made or the observations that were made a year or two ago, there's been so much competition, so many people, so many competitors have jumped onto the same practice that all of a sudden, if you go exactly opposite of what they're doing, if everybody's doing top of search, you should also test not top of search. If everybody is using just exact match and phrase match keywords, try out broad match. We're having phenomenal success this year in some of these hyper competitive product niches, because of using things like broad match keywords, which is counter to what I've taught in the past, simply because there's so much competition fighting for the exact match and the phrase match and the top of search that it gets so expensive that it's just not tenable. It's not feasible to do that, right? And so if you're in that situation and your bids are, $5, $10 as far as a CPC, then you need to really look at like, okay, let me go the opposite direction of where all the competition appears to be.
I see. Okay, thank you. And Brian, another question that I got in private message, it's basically about the previous slide. Somebody asked me to give a more detailed explanation about what you meant when you say display ads with custom title and the image.
Sure. So, gosh, what was it? 3 weeks ago, I guess it was. Amazon rolled out the top prime ad position for sponsored display ads. Originally, that top thin stripe, which looks like a shrunk down version of a headline ad, that was originally and still is an ad that was targeted through the DSP or demand side platform. So this is something like, for instance, my agency can set up and manage. But this was opened up in the last month for sponsored display ads for product targeting, but it only qualifies to show in that particular ad position if you've implemented, like say, the custom image to custom title on a sponsored display product targeting ad. You'll see that option if it's available, depending on it's going to vary by marketplace, of course. But within the United States, if you've got access to sponsored display ads, for instance, you should now, in the last month, see an additional option when you create a new sponsored display product targeting ad to be able to have a custom image, for instance.
Okay, thank you for the answer.
Of course. The rest of what you put in there, as far as what you're targeting, of course, they're going to be the target ASINs that you came up with. Those 20 to 30 of those competitors, the weak competitors, maybe in a separate campaign, the moderate competitors, and then maybe even a third campaign is your own ASINs, so that you have a defense ad also, right? And generally, I do is I exclude brands when it's my own. I exclude my own brand, except for, of course, the defense campaign. The defense campaign, obviously, you want to include your own brand. All right. Get a quick water here.
Take your time. Gilad, you with us?
Okay. Who's ready for the last part, part 3?
Okay, everybody waiting. Wait.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what we're talking about as far as like going beyond your own competitive set, actually reaching your audience. In fact, I'm going to jump ahead here, but the idea here is that you're essentially doing something that's very similar to the setup as far as identifying the 20 to 30 ASINs, except what you're doing is you're identifying those products that your audience buys. Maybe they're not even looking for your product, but you know that this is the same kind of products to your audience. Maybe it is an accessory to a product you sell. Maybe your product is an accessory to somebody else. Maybe if you sell, for instance, if you sell, for instance, a camping product, right? Then there's obviously your audience. If they're buying your product, potentially buying your product for camping, then they probably are buying a whole bunch of other products for camping, right? That's kind of an example, right? If you're selling an office chair, then they probably are buying other office equipment, whiteboards and all that kind of stuff, right? The nice thing about that is because it takes extra work in order to set up additional ads, in order to target ASINs, doing it this way. Don't just do the category targeting ad. While you can do that for the non-prime shipping ones, make sure that you're also taking the extra time in order to set up these product targeting ads in a new campaign that is specifically targeting your audience outside of your own product niche. So you're actually gaining those, you're learning what those ASINs are. Some of the cool ways to do that, again, I've got a bigger list on this, but what I mentioned before, there's a few of these, a little bit of overlap here. Of course, the sponsor products related to this item. Now, if you go into, like, say, your top #1 competitor in your niche, that's a big dog that you're going after, right? You're going to find that most of the advertisements are products exactly or directly competing with that product. Now, the psychology on this, as far as how do you gain a shopper who's not looking for your product by having your product show up on a list on somebody else's product detail page that has ads that is all the same kind of product, is your first biggest challenge is actually getting a shopper to even notice you exist in the first place, right? They're not clicking through on your ad. That's not the first step. The first thing is for them to actually pause their eyeballs from scrolling down the page at a sea of what looks like the same kind of products in different colors and, different pricing reviews, and actually pause for a second to give a second glance to your product. This is what is called as far as product positioning and product differentiation. Again, a much bigger topic that we won't cover today, but it directly applies in this case where I don't know how much of the group here is familiar with the book series that Where's Waldo. It's like one of those games where you're trying to find some, like, what's wrong with this picture, something that stands out from a picture that doesn't fit in. It's one of those kinds of things.
Effie. His name is Effie.
Yeah.
In Hebrew.
And so it's kind of that game. It's kind of like, it catches people's attention because they don't expect it. Your ad, let's say, for instance, that you sell a water cooler, or not water cooler. What am I thinking of? Like an ice chest for people who, and you're trying to sell it to an audience that likes to camp, and therefore they want to keep their food cold, and they want your ice chest, but they just don't know it yet. They may be out there looking for tents. They may be looking for bug spray. They may be looking for all kinds of things, right? And they're going to be out looking at somebody else's product. They're on their product detail page, or they're in search results looking for something. And all of a sudden, here's this ad for this water cooler. It's like, that doesn't stand out. Every single one of you have been on search results. And it's like, wow, that product just, like, why is that product shown in here? It's not even relevant to my search. But those were ads, or those were listings that were targeting the same audience, and they're doing it for a reason. It may not make sense to you as a seller, but you can also appreciate that your eye caught it, which is exactly what we're trying to do here. You're trying to basically have your ad stand out like a sore thumb in a product detail page or in the search results to your audience, and it becomes more of an impulse buy. Okay. Now, in order to get your ads running on some of those other related products that your audience might be looking for, of course, you can look to see like, okay, what are the products that are similar to mine that go along with mine or complementary? What are some other activities that my audience is doing while they're using my own product? Sometimes you can see it right on Amazon from things like the sponsored products related to this item. Maybe sometimes you'll see an ad that doesn't really fit in. Take note of that because that's probably somebody who's doing something similar. Certainly other ones like compare with similar items, look for products that are refurbished, renewed, used. All these things that are great opportunities to kind of like say, hey, I've got a better quality product or I have a product that is related to this product. Most of your competitors won't go through the effort of going through this exercise of expanding their audience and going after and trying to run ads on other products that are not directly, they're so focused on like, oh, I'm competing against a product that's just like mine and I'm struggling. And you're going out there and saying, well, let me start running ads, a little bit, lower bid maybe, but I'm running basically the same kind of product targeting ads to where my audience is, and I'm not worried about going head to head with my competition. So my ad stands out, it grabs the attention of the shopper, and I'm going, oh, you know what, I do need that too. You're gonna start picking up some additional sales, and you're gonna start refining, okay, when is my target audience in the mood for buying my product? It's when they are buying this other kind of product in this completely different subcategory. Some of those things, look at your mobile phones. The two, number 4, number 5 here, I have a little asterisk. That's basically saying they're most commonly seen only on your mobile app, not on the desktop. Customers who bought this item also bought. What other items do customers buy after viewing this item? Those are all awesome ones because they actually say, that's actually number 5 is saying like, okay, when shoppers are shopping for this thing, they're actually still in the mood of actually buying my product too, right? It's related. Bestsellers and popular products that are in the search results, okay? Some other ones too is you can also expand your list. If you get more aggressive on the second pass of this, is you can start building that list even farther by looking at things like your sibling categories. If, for instance, I sell a dartboard, then some of the other sibling categories within the man cave or entertainment room or game room kind of product niche. If I sell a dartboard, then maybe I should be running my ads when people are looking for, pool or billiard tables, right? Or shootout games or, Xbox, video games and that kind of stuff. Those are some additional opportunities for you to test against because your audience is looking for similar items. Certainly, like I said, any accessories, any frequently bought together, frequently viewed together. Here's one that definitely takes more time, and that's exactly why you should do it because your competitors are lazy. They're not going to do it. Okay, especially if your competitors are these multi-brand, multinational, multi-sales channel kind of products. They don't have the team or the resources to go in and do this kind of like passionate research that you can do. Is you can go out and say, okay, who are some big influencers that my audience might be listening to? An influencer may be somebody who's a huge name, like an Oprah Winfrey, but it may be somebody who's more specifically talking to natural vegan campers who like Utah. These are kinds of, there's some influencers out there and they've got 20,000 followers. They don't have 50 million followers, right? But they're talking about products that they like. On YouTube as an example, on Instagram, on Pinterest, even on TikTok, if your audience is probably a little bit younger, TikTok is probably a good one to look at too. Some of the social media channels, they're talking about, or they're saying, oh, this is my new favorite product, or I really like this. It doesn't have to be your product, but the point on that is you think that your audience is listening to that influencer, and that influencer is saying, I love this product, you get a big portion of that target audience that goes out and looks on Amazon to say, hey, can I get this 2-day Prime shipping from Amazon? Because I have a Prime membership, and they're buying that other product, or they're at least looking at that other product that this influencer recommended. Why shouldn't your product targeting ad for your product be showing up on that related product that is getting all this traffic? I kid you not, we see this again and again where we have, I don't know if anybody can put in the chat. Have you ever seen where one day all of a sudden your sales just spiked way up? Usually that's because of a mention. And then the very next day it just disappears. Usually because some influencer mentioned it on a news TV show or something. And 100,000 people went out to Amazon and went searching for it, and you got some traffic off of it. That kind of stuff happens all the time. Influencers, people in the news, news coverage. The problem, of course, is you got to figure out who the influencers are that your audience might be listening to. That takes a lot more work. That's work that your competitor is not willing to do. And therefore, you have a competitive advantage because you're probably going to be the only one who actually advertises against a product that an influencer mentioned that is an influencer to your target audience. Hopefully that makes some sense there. All right, so let me kind of do a quick recap here. These are what we kind of covered here, or these are what we covered, right? Identifying your targets, whether those are direct competitors, weak competitors, moderate competitors, or you can also, expand off of your own product. That's kind of the third one, right? As far as identifying products that your audience might be looking at and getting your ad in front of them and standing out like a sore thumb. And of course, right in the middle there, we talked about, here's some basic ways: setting up product targeting ads across sponsored product, sponsored brand, and sponsored display ad types, assuming you've got access to all three. If you only have access to sponsored product targeting ads are a great way to go with sponsored product ads by themselves. They're going to be more competitive, more expensive, but it is, do it if you're not currently doing it. My go-to ads, I'll kind of slip in here kind of just verbally. My two go-to ads in fourth quarter of 2020 are going to be the product targeting ads, especially sponsored display product targeting ads, and sponsored brand video ads. Those are both working phenomenally well for our clients. That's it. That's my training.
First of all, it was very, very interesting. I just want to tell to our audience that we have more few minutes and you can ask more questions. And Gilad, what about you? You have any questions?
I would like, well, first of all, Brian, it was great, and thank you very much for this presentation. It brought a lot of value to our listeners.
Good.
And I know I have some kind of a bad audio problem, so can you still hear me okay?
No, you're good.
Yeah, I can still hear you.
I'm okay, all right. So, Brian, I would like to ask you to give like few advice for those preparing for their first time ever Black Friday. I mean, do you have some tips for them, like do and not do, like on top of your head, what you think they should get ready to?
Yes, absolutely, I do. Yeah, I actually have done like 3 workshops on that recently. So yeah, it's fresh in my head. So good question.
Oh, we have 3 hours available, so you know what? Let's do
it. Yeah. Actually, I did post those out to my YouTube channel too. So if anybody wants to watch the replay on that, then that is available. But yeah, so the first and foremost, of course, is focus your ads. If you've been running ads, the conversion rates normally are going to jump around because of competition, because of just more shoppers. The conversion rates of your products are going to jump up and down from week to week, especially this year. This year is so compressed between a late Prime Day and an early cutoff for Prime shipping. Normally, obviously normally Prime Day is back in July, and then we, shoved it all the way forward here. And so that it starts, just a month ago, right? And then, so then we have this compressed shopping season. And then, of course, because of COVID and logistics, we expect that a lot of the cutoff that is normally for Prime Day, for Prime shipping, is usually, historically, it's been about December 20th, 21st, right? We're expecting probably December 10th, December 12th of this year. So we're going to lose, just because of bad shipping logistics this year, that it's going to be further compressed, right? So that's the first thing, is to be aware of the situation. So what that means, though, is that the second recommendation I have is that because of that, focus your ads on the top converting, the highest conversion rate, products, categories, and targets. So for products, if you have, a lot of different products, then maybe not run ads on your low converting, those that have a low conversion rate, low unit session percentage, or a low advertised conversion rate. Probably pull back, maybe minimize, if not even pause ads during this final month here. So that you're focusing your ad spend on those products that have the higher conversion rate, that are more likely to convert, and because of the higher conversion rate, they're more likely to be profitable, right? So that's a big recommendation I have, is don't just go for the vanity metric of, oh, I had a whole bunch of sales and a whole bunch of traffic. Actually walk away with some profit this year. So highest converting products, certainly look again at what are the highest converting versus the lowest converting campaigns. Make some decisions as far as which ones to keep active over the next few weeks and which ones not. And then third, individual targets. If you've got the time after setting up your product targeting ads, if you have the time, is to go in and look at targets. Targets can be categories, can be products, it can be keywords, it can be auto targeting groups, right? And automatic campaigns. Those you can also reduce down. It's a little bit more difficult to simply just turn them on and off, right? Because it's a little bit more fine grain or fine tuning. But you can also look at the individual targets, keywords, products, categories that you can either keep running because they have a good conversion rate, or you pause temporarily or reduce the bid or budget in order to back off on those. Because ultimately what we want is we want to focus our ad spend on those products, campaigns, and targets that have the highest conversion rate and are more likely to bring us profit by the end of the season. Third is going to be, this is assuming, of course, that you're going to actually implement these product targeting ads, but third is going to be, don't forget that Tuesday is going to be just as busy as Friday. People always think it's like, oh, it starts on Friday, it ends on Cyber Monday. No, actually Tuesday is just as busy as Black Friday. So keep that in mind. Don't shut off too early because you've got an extra day that maybe your competitors are not aware of. And if your competitors think that, if they're turning off their ads at the end of Cyber Monday, and now all of a sudden your ads are the only ones that are showing up all over the place on Tuesday, that's another competitive advantage for you.
All right, cool. So great stuff. Thank you very much for that. And I have another question. I think we'll wrap it up in here, and
sure.
And then you could tell us a little bit about you. And so the question was, any input regarding the brand display ad? It's a bit of an unknown territory with no suggested bid, etc.
For which brand ad?
The brand display ad.
The brand display ad.
So
there's not actually an ad type called brand display. There's sponsored brand ads, and they would have keyword targeting, product targeting, category targeting, or video. That's basically the four you've got there. So
Mati, if you want to rephrase your question, then I will forward it.
Okay, so we will wait for the fresh question of Mati. And meanwhile, you can tell us a little bit about your business, about your services. And
sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, I've got a number of different companies. My flagship, of course, is my agency. Of course, my marketing team provided me with a slide. So with your permission, I would share that has a link out to my website. Is that fine?
Of course.
Okay. All right. I want to respect that. And essentially what this is for my done for you advertising agency. We've got a couple of different programs. Generally, we do work with sellers that are typically doing, like, as far as like our core agency team, we do tend to do the full ad management along with a bunch of other services for brands that are selling, maybe 30,000 per month or more on Amazon. However, we actually recently introduced a program for those who are also selling at 10,000 per month or more. And so what we basically have a couple of different offerings for those as well. But we primarily focus on, I have a team of 18 that specifically works on Amazon advertising. And then I also have other teams that work on things like listing optimization, Amazon DSP or demand side platform. Certainly, the listing optimization is things like conversion rate optimization, 3D rendering, copywriting, those kinds of things. And then we also have a couple of teams that work on off Amazon advertising and off Amazon launch strategies. So we can support quite a bit these days. I think we have an international team. I think I heard today that we're up to like 53, 54 staff on our team now. So we've had a pretty good run over the past couple of years. So.
All right. So first of all, tomorrow we're gonna add also the link to your YouTube channel where you said that you made a video about yeah, exactly that. And by the way, Mati here rephrased her question. So yeah, she was referring to the sponsored display ads. So like any input regarding that, because it's a bit unknown territory with no suggested bid.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was just training on this entire thing was sponsored display ads, including you're saying as far as like the off Amazon retargeting. Maybe that's what they're asking about. Yeah. As far as sponsored display audience view, that one is the idea behind that is it kind of mimics. It's kind of like a small version of what you can do with demand side platform or the DSP ad platform that Amazon has. It is. I think there's a lot of brands that are still trying to learn to try to get that right. What I can tell you just from our experience is that typically for off Amazon retargeting, typically those products that are that fit into things like subscribe and save, the recurring purchase kind of products, foods and replenishable kind of products, they do pretty well with sponsored display audience targeting ads off Amazon. Those are designed to basically run ads in other locations, other websites off of Amazon, and they're designed by default simply just try to get a shopper back into to purchase the product. It's kind of the ads that follow them around kind of concept. Some of the newer ones, not everybody has access to this. But where you can actually you can run ads to specifically target competitor products or related products and actually target ads for shoppers who visited their listing, not even your own, and run ads off Amazon to pull them back. Honestly, DSP does a much better job at that with a lot better reporting than sponsored display audience targeting currently does. So as far as the sponsored display ad type goes, I would focus specifically on the product targeting ads and keep it at that for now.
Okay, guys, like anything good in our life, we have come to the end. So first of all, I want to thank to Bryan for sharing his great knowledge and for that presentation. I enjoyed every second. And I want to thank to Gilad for the work behind the scenes. And of course, I want to thank to our viewers for the loyalty every week. And we see you in the next webinar. That's going to be, I don't know if better, but it's going to be good enough than yours, Bryan. Gilad, any last words?
No, and yeah, me and you, we're gonna have another talk. But I wanted to thank you also personally for being flowing with my Israeli chutzpah and being here. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, my pleasure. I enjoy this. I enjoy helping a lot of people. I give a lot of my time, so I'm glad that you invited me on. So I appreciate that. The only probably thing that I wish is that everybody takes action on this immediately and puts this in place. You don't have time to be waiting for next week. You got Black Friday coming up soon. And this is the biggest opportunity right now for you is to get these product targeting ads running, because a lot of your competitors, like I said, most competitors are not running these. So it's a good opportunity for you.
This is the real money time now. So guys, take his advice and watch that webinar again. And Bryant, please feel free to stay in our group, and maybe sometime to share more of your knowledge and answer to our posts, and even though it's in Hebrew, but still.
No, that's fine. I've got to translate. One of the things that I would also recommend, this seems like it works out pretty well, is and you'll probably get a number of questions. Maybe you'll have like a thread that'll talk about like, oh, I had this other question about trying to implement this. Let me know kind of when you get a collection of some of those, your first 10 questions. I can come back in and I can actually create a video for you that you can then share, going through and just answering all the questions for the group.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Well, thank you for that.
Of course.
Okay, guys, so if you have any question, you can ask the questions. We will open a post in our Amazon Nonstop group. Please try to answer the questions in English, and we will forward it to Bryant, and Bryant will prepare a video for us. So thank you for that. And so we will see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Gilad. Bye-bye.
All right, good night.